we actually have the director, we have the kind of.
It's the 27th.
It's a conservation.
I'm sure it's on my calendar.
I already know, my mom's birthday is 28th. What's her concert?
It is, but there's
concert
a
are you
lot
going
of great reasons why.
Oh, yeah.
It's been neglected for years.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's sort of.
I think I was-
Sins of the past, right?
And then they talked about,
Good evening. Welcome everyone to the September 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Vacaville. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Berumen, Commissioner Fraser,
Here.
Commissioner Golinger,
Here.
Commissioner Kelsey,
Here.
Commissioner Klein, Vice Chair Gutierrez,
Here.
Chair Oz.
Here. Thank you. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments from staff or the commission?
No amendments.
Great. Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Great, motion carries. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our meeting on August 6th, 2025. For those minutes, are there any additions or corrections?
No, there hasn't been.
Great. So as a reminder that the commission, any commissioners that will need to abstain from voting on this item, unless they've actually, watched the meeting in its entirety. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Second. So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the August 6th, 2025 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Next on the agenda is written communications. Are there any recent communications to the commission that we have received?
There has been no written communication.
Wonderful. Moving on to our next item is presentations. Director Mulder, would you please introduce item 6A?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So this item is a recognition of staff who have worked for the Parks and Recreation Department for 20 years. And this evening, we'd like to recognize Recreation Supervisor Jennifer Baker. So if you could come forward, and Elizabeth Crisante, Recreation Manager, will be doing a presentation for Jennifer.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. There we go. As Bruce mentioned, we are here celebrating a significant milestone for one of our work family members. Jennifer Baker has been with the City of Vacaville and the Parks and Recreation Department for over 20 years, providing quality programming, customer service, and leadership. So Jennifer is a true Vacavillian. She grew up here and spent her childhood summers running around with her cousins and swimming at her grandparents' house. They owned the Christmas tree farm that sat at the corner of Elmira and Leisure Town Roads. Jennifer started working there when she was little, basically doing any and all of the jobs she could, carrying trees to cars, cashiering, stump painting, greeting customers and handing out candy canes. And I truly think this is where her strong work ethic and exemplary customer service skills sprouted. Jennifer's journey into recreation happened by way of organized sports. She did both competitive gymnastics and diving throughout her childhood, teens, and college years. Jennifer actually remembers attending the city's gymnastics program when it was still housed at Three Oaks, so that was a very long time ago. In high school, she was hired as an entry-level coach, and after graduating from Sacramento State, Jennifer was promoted into the part-time on-site managerial role for gymnastics. For 9 years, Jennifer was part of a team that built the gymnastics program into a robust offering of classes, events, and successful competitive teams. In 2008, she was hired for the full-time recreation coordinator position overseeing youth and adult sports. Jennifer made numerous improvements to the programs and did an outstanding job of navigating the ever-changing landscape of programming during COVID. In 2022, she promoted again, this time into her current role as recreation supervisor, overseeing youth and adult sports, as well as aquatics, concessions, and Georgie Duke Sports Center. Jennifer is also the department liaison to the leagues and various sports groups we work with. And then there's all the other miscellaneous, projects and tasks we give her that she goes, yes, no problem. I would also like to mention that during all of this time, Jennifer pursued a master's degree from the University of Phoenix, married her husband Josh, and started a family. Her 2 sons keep her busy as they are now both old enough to participate in organized sports, and she has them, of course, in our baseball and our t-ball programs, because that's a great city employee. Jennifer and her family are often out camping and exploring, and she never says no to a good DIY home renovation project. A few fun facts about Jennifer. Her bucket list for life includes international travel, Italy, Spain, and France for starters. And if older Jennifer could give some advice to younger Jennifer, it would be to invest wisely, which I think all of us here would agree is really, really good sound wisdom. Yeah. I want to conclude by congratulating Jennifer on her 20-plus years of commitment and hard work. Being in the field of parks and recreation requires passion, tenacity, humor, and sometimes a little bit of crazy. Jennifer, I really appreciate how you coach your team. You have created a compassionate and empathetic environment for them to thrive in. I applaud your ability to tackle challenges with outside-the-box thinking and come up with creative solutions. You have shared with me that your favorite part of the job is seeing the results of all the hard work you/we put into to come to fruition when participants are enjoying themselves in our programs. I know you think this is a little bit cliche, but I think it just means you're in it for the right reasons. Thank you, Jennifer. We're proud of you, all you've done and will continue to do for the organization and your community. So we have a little gift basket for you and a little award. Hopefully I can take it out without dumping the whole thing.
Wow.
Of course, we got you a little tchotchke to sit on the shelf.
Aw.
So if you could hold this and maybe go take a picture with Commission.
Sure.
I love it.
Come on, Commission, come on down.
Thank you, guys. Does seem like I've been here a while.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
One, two, three. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Jennifer.
That's a great feat, and thank you for your 2 decades of service to Vacaville. I appreciate it. All right. Moving on to our next presentation. Director Mulder, would you introduce that item?
Yes, good evening once again, Commissioners. So our next item is another presentation, and this one is on our youth and adult sports programs. And we have Vicki Williams-Jones, our recreation coordinator, here to provide a presentation.
Good evening, Vicki.
Can you hear me? All right, good. All right, good evening. My name is Vicki Williams-Jones. I am the Recreation Coordinator for Adult and Youth Sports for the City of Vacaville. Welcome to our presentation, beginning with youth sports. Youth sports programs offered by the City of Vacaville Park and Rec Department. Youth sports are the cornerstone of our efforts to create a vibrant, inclusive environment for children of all ages. Next is our mission statement. Our mission statement reflects our unwavering commitment to fostering an inclusive and supportive environment for the youth of Vacaville by offering quality recreational sports, leagues, and programs that prioritize accessibility for all skill levels and abilities. We aim to inspire a love for sports and teamwork. With safety as one of our main priorities, we want to ensure a fun and enriching experience through the dedication of our professional contractors, our trained staff, and passionate volunteers. This mission embodies our department's pledge to empower the next generation and strengthen our community through joy of play. All right, next is our sportsmanship rating system that we have. This initiative began in 2024 following some challenges that we had with not only baseball, but some other sports. And we implemented this to build a healthier and more positive culture for the future. So our sportsmanship rating system plays a vital role in supporting our mission to create positive and respectful sports environment. With each new season and each new group of participants, coaches, and families, we review and refine the system to ensure it reflects our values and adapts to the evolving needs of our community. We are dedicated to continuous improvement and open to making changes that strengthen the impact of this system. Our aim is to foster respect, teamwork, integrity both on and off the field or court, transforming sports into an experience where sportsmanship is a top priority. We believe this system has the power to drive meaningful change. Our ultimate goal and our tagline is changing the culture in sports. Next is our contractual camps and clinics. Our contractual camps and clinics offer a diverse range of activities designed to engage participants in skill building, teamwork, and physical fitness. The programs include our all sports camps, basketball, dodgeball, flag football, grappling, horsemanship, indoor volleyball, karate and self-defense, running programs, soccer and tennis. We're kind of busy. These activities provide opportunities for all ages to learn, grow, and have fun in a supportive environment. And then we have our traditional league sports. Baseball, we run in the fall. Basketball is year-round. Girls fast pitches in the fall. T-ball in the summer. Volleyball, spring, summer, and fall. Each of these leagues is designed with safety, sportsmanship, and fun at its core, ensuring that all children in our community, regardless of their ability or background, have the chance to participate. Through sports, we aim to foster lifelong skills, friendship, and the love for active living. National Girls and Women Day in Sports. This past February, we proudly hosted our first event in celebration of the National Girls and Women Day in Sports. It was a day dedicated to recognizing the achievements of female athletes, promoting gender equity in sports, and encouraging participation at all levels. The event highlighted the power of sports to inspire, unite, and uplift young girls and women, both on and off the courts and fields. We were honored to feature an incredible panel of speakers whose experiences and insights made the event truly unforgettable. Coach Darla Williams of Solano College shared her coaching journey and commitment to developing student athletes. Carol Gilpin, owner of Vacaville Fleet Feet, spoke passionately about supporting active lifestyles and the importance of community. We were especially privileged to hear from Ruthie Bolton, two-time Olympic gold medalist and former WNBA point guard, whose inspiring story of perseverance and excellence resonated with all in attendance. Guiding the conversation with energy and insight was our MC, Amy G., also known as Amy Gutierrez, journalist, author, and former San Francisco Giants field reporter, who brought her unique perspective on careers for women in sports media. The event was a resounding success. We are excited about the possibility of bringing this celebration back next year, and the tentative date is Saturday, February 7th, 2026, from 9 to noon. It is our hope that by continuing this tradition, we can empower the next generation of girls and women to embrace their strength, pursue their dreams, and make their mark in the world of sports. All right, next is our challenges and hurdles. Our youth programs have experienced significant growth, underscoring both passion and demand within our community. However, this success has also brought notable challenges that we are committed to addressing to better serve our participants and their families. One of the most pressing issues is the lack of available space for practices and games. This limitation has led to substantial wait lists with hundreds of eager participants unable to join in some of our most popular sports. Additionally, the availability of volunteer coaches has decreased, and we do have a slight need for additional officials. All right, so what's on the horizon for youth sports? We're excited to announce the new spring T-ball season. This new season will run alongside of our popular T-ball clinics, which are offered in March through May. We will also continue with our much-loved June through August League. By expanding our program, we're creating more opportunities for aspiring young ball players to sharpen their skills and enjoy the game. We are also thrilled to share that Coach Ryan Rucker, a former commission vice chair, will be launching courtside coaching clinics and fitness classes prior to each of our basketball seasons. These sessions are designed to prepare athletes of all skill levels and their families for what to expect during the season, with a focus on learning, growth, and sportsmanship and fun. Right, and so now on to our adult sports program.
Well, before you do that, Jen, maybe we can, or Vicki, maybe we can just ask the commission if they have any questions on this item first and everything else. So, are there any?
Sure.
Any questions for Vicki on this item? Oh, great.
All right, thank you.
Let's start. I'll start with Commissioner Gollinger.
Great, good, very good. Congratulations to you. I just wanted to chime in and say that please have the Women in Sports event next year, because I didn't get to attend last year because I wasn't in this seat. And I will be the first one signed up. So I think it's so critical because we lose so many girls to sports, especially in the preteen and teen years. So anything we can do to encourage more female participation in all sports, I'm 100% for that. Can you talk a little bit about the field space challenges? Can you be like more specific, like in regards to baseball? Like what are your just so we have a concept of what the struggle is. And I know Jennifer puts together a magical spreadsheet. But just so everybody else has a concept of like what the moving pieces are in order to acquire practice space for these kids. How many people have to move around and how complicated it is.
Sport, yeah, for sure.
It kind of depends if we're talking about spring or fall, but currently our struggle in fall with our internal programs is just volume. In fall, we welcome all of the local leagues, so each of them have like a home field where they run their programs in the spring. Well, in the fall, we're the only ones, so they all come to the city for fall ball. And we have all of the competitive leagues come in, plus we offer our own rec league. So we have double of what everybody else is trying to function with, but with the same field space. So we're just bursting at the seams right now. If you look at what's going to start happening next week in practice field space, you won't see an open field in Vacaville, which is great, but we also have wait lists. So it's like we could do more, but there's nowhere to put them. And then in the fall, it gets dark earlier. So you can't put kids out on the fields without lights. So we have limited lights is one thing, and then just lots of Vacaville kids wanting to play fall baseball.
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, it is. They love it. It's fun.
But that still is a problem. Because if there's a kid out there who is on a wait list for a team and that child ends up not playing, that means that we end up missing out on impacting that kid maybe for life. Maybe that one kid was going to fall in love with baseball. So I encourage the commission to go out to the ball field and just see how congested it is.
Yes.
And we have a real need in this community because we're popular. We're doing it right. And so in order to do it even better than the rest of the community around us, we have to build more space.
There you go. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Gutierrez.
Hi, yes, so excited to see an overview and ditto everything that Commissioner, I want to say Emily, but we're trying to be more formal here. But Commissioner Gollinger said as well. But I have two questions actually. So the Positive Culture Initiative, love that. I do know that probably coming right out of COVID, there were some issues like at Georgie Duke with the referees and parents and things like that. Have we seen a shift in that positive culture? How is that being measured? I haven't heard anything, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. My kids kind of aged out of that, but I'm very curious kind of how that's being measured and have we seen a difference?
Definitely a big difference initially, and then with the initial group that we started this with. And then every time we get a new season, that's new people that we have to come in and educate them. Our officials absolutely love it. They're having a ball. They absolutely love it. If you actually guys come out to one of the games at the Duke, if you walk in the gym, there are times where you can't tell who's cheering for who. Everybody's cheering, everybody's having fun. The comments, the negative attitudes from the coaches, almost nil. The other thing that we implemented with them is that they're rated at the end of the game. Our staff will rate them. If I'm there, I'll pay attention. The coaches also rate each other at the end of the game. So that peer pressure, so to speak, or just that peer respect, they've turned everything around. So it's definitely working.
Good. That's really good to hear. And then I saw you guys mentioned also the lack of coaches or volunteer coaches. Have we looked at possibly if there's a parent offering an exchange, like their child being able to participate in the sport for free in exchange for them coaching? Has that worked?
Yeah, it's good I'm glad that you asked that question. Right now, we are trying to finish up fall ball. We're down 2 coaches in our 9 to 12, and we've offered just about everything you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
So your kid could play for free. They can do anything they want, whatever they would want, and we're still struggling with that.
How about any students that maybe aged out that can come back? I know right now I've got a senior and we're looking for like volunteer hours, and if that could be an incentive for them to use, just resume building as they're getting ready to graduate.
Sure, we have reached out we have a high school league that rents the field, so we don't run it. We've reached out to them. We've reached out to UC Davis. They did respond, but they're all in school. And most of the people that we're asking are athletes that are playing sports right now. Not to make excuses, we're trying. Yeah, we're really, really pushing.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for all you guys do.
And Commissioner Kelsey, did you have a?
Thank you very much, Vicki. I think I want to just reiterate some of the comments that Commissioner Gutierrez and Commissioner Gollinger has already spoken on, but I'm going to add a little bit to that. Regarding the volunteer coaches, do you have a quantity in mind? Or do you know additional how many coaches you might need for any particular type, say basketball, or is there a quantifiable number that you're looking at, or?
I mean, it goes season to season. So every season, as part of their registration, they can check the box that says that they want to volunteer. Basketball hasn't really been an issue, and this is really the first time, this is my third fall ball season that we've had issues with fall baseball.
Fall baseball.
So fall baseball is the one right now.
The other comment I would just want to make is, have you tried reaching out to the local communities? Where our family lives, there's many neighbors and a lot of them are involved in their children's sports, driving them to baseball practice, to basketball practice, et cetera, et cetera. But they are a great resource as well to perhaps pull in and say, hey, you guys, you're doing this for your children. How about doing this for other children as well? And I think they'd be probably happy to do that.
Okay.
You know,
That's a good idea. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you for indulging us. You continue with your next presentation.
Okay. All right. So now we'll go ahead and move on to our adult sports program. So our goal with adult sports is to provide recreational experiences, promote health and wellness, and of course, provide Vacaville with the opportunity to stay active and have fun. We have traditional leagues. We did have basketball. We're continuing to explore the option of bringing adult basketball back to Vacaville. So far, we haven't had much success in securing enough interest or resources. In the meantime, I've known that many of the players have opted to join some of the neighboring leagues. We're really working hard to try and get them back. Volleyball, Thursday, adult volleyball continues to thrive, bringing together a strong core of returning teams each season, along with the refreshing mix of new teams. The program's consistency and energy makes it one of our most successful and engaging adult sports offerings. And softball, adult softball remains consistent with steady registration numbers and no decline in participation. This dedicated group frequently requests rule updates and additional materials to enhance the league experience. We're usually able to accommodate their needs, helping the program stay strong and player focused. And I'd like to just comment on the picture that you're looking at right now. We'd like to take the time to highlight this team. These are the Buffalo Chips. They've been a part of Vacaville adult softball for 50 years this season.
Wow.
The team was started by Rush Daly and a group of his friends. Rush Daly passed away a few years ago, but there are still some of the original Buffalo Chips around, including his sons and maybe grandsons. The team began in 1973 under a different name, but in 1975, they took the name the Buffalo Chips and never looked back. Our contractual classes, the adult programs include karate and self-defense, Zumba, tennis, and pickleball. Karate and Zumba maintain consistent support from dedicated participants. Tennis continues to thrive with strong participation, while pickleball, which was reintroduced over a year ago, has rapidly grown in popularity and often require waiting lists to accommodate the demand. We also have drop-in activities, a nice diverse group of that. The Georgie Duke hosts basketball, badminton, pickleball, all of which are highly popular. Additionally, run by our office, we have drop-in volleyball and Zumba. I would say the challenges and the hurdles for adult sports include the need for adequate facilities that can accommodate participants year-round. In particular, the lack of well-lit courts limits play during the shorter daylight hours of fall, winter, and spring, often forcing community members to flock to Three Oaks for access. Adding courts with proper lights would help distribute usage more evenly and expand opportunities for evening play. Additionally, the rising expenses associated with traditional league sports, such as equipment, facility maintenance, and staffing, continue to strain our resources. Addressing these issues will require innovative strategies to sustain program quality while managing cost effectively. And what we have to look forward to, pickleball is growing and thriving. We have Pickleball 101, Intermediate, 102, which is advanced, and it's now going to be under the direction of Solano Tennis. We have a pro pickleball instructor, Ashley Mackey. She'll be leading the group. And then our adult softball is moving back to Nelson. We did a little, a little trial, and they absolutely loved it. We had 4 teams go and play a game there with the umpires, everything, and they absolutely loved the fields. So to accommodate the growth of girls fast pitch, our adult softball program, which has been steady in registration, has not demanded the space that they've been taking at Outpatch for quite some time. So we want to utilize our field spaces appropriately and optimize scheduling due to the growth of our community and limited spaces. And thank you for that. Any questions?
Any questions? Wonderful.
All right, thank you, commissioners. We hope to see you on the fields, tracks, mats, and courts very soon.
Perhaps volunteering is coach volunteer, something like that too. So
Absolutely. Oh, she's looking at me.
Tell a friend. Thank you.
we can be part of the solution too. Right. The next item on the agenda is business from the floor. This is the time to address the commission on issues that are not on tonight's agenda, but yet are still part of our subject matter jurisdiction. There's 3 minutes per speaker. Does anybody wish to address the commission tonight? If so, please come to the podium. All right. Seeing none, I will close business from the floor, and we will move on to our first business item A. Director Mulder, would you please introduce this next item?
Yes, good evening once again, Commission. I saw some of our residents in the audience questioning whether it was their time, but you will have a time to speak if you want to speak on one of the agenda items this evening. So you will get a chance to speak on an item coming up on the agenda. So with that, we're keeping on with our sports theme. So our first business item is a presentation working with community sports-based user groups. So we just heard a presentation on the programs and services that our department provides. We also work very well with our community-based organizations that provide a wonderful service and use our facilities, provide a lot of sports-based programming on our fields and facilities as well. So that's what this presentation is about. And we have Recreation Manager again, Elizabeth Crescente, and Jennifer Baker, Recreation Supervisor, here for this presentation.
Oh.
There we go. Thanks, Jen. Okay, so thank you very much for that introduction, Director Mulder. Good evening again, Commissioners, Chair, Vice Chair. Tonight, Jennifer and I are going to be presenting on working with community sports-based user groups. So these are folks that we do agreements with, not our internal programming, which is what Vicki just presented on. So Parks and Recreation works with a variety of organized sports groups. In 2003, City Council approved a document called the Youth, Baseball, Football, Soccer, Turf, and Concessions Facilities Allocation Requirements and Procedures, which is essentially outlining the process and priority levels by which youth sports organizations would be allocated space on an annual basis. While the document contains the foundation for existing agreements and allocations provided to these more traditional sports, baseball, softball, soccer, we really have seen a significant growth in organized sports beyond those and their respective organizations here in Vacaville, particularly since COVID, not just for youth, but for adults as well. So on this slide are a list of some of the ones that we currently have some kind of agreement with. So you can see there's quite a few. So what constitutes an agreement? The first thing to consider is the type of organization that's asking for space. High priority is given to nonprofits, those who have a positive working relationship with the city, those serving a large number of youth, etc. We also consider the nature of their request. How often do they want to use a field or a facility? Is it for a sports practice, a tournament, holding an event they're charging for? one time versus long-term rental kind of thing. And often there is a request for discounted fees, assignment of a home complex, and in some cases, an assumption of maintenance of the home complex. And finally, we consider, can the organization meet the city's insurance requirements? There are two types of agreements that Parks and Recreation uses for sports organizations. The most common is the facility license and use agreement. This is what we use for the baseball and softball leagues, as well as Vacaville Youth Soccer League's fall recreation program. And that's where we are allocating field parks for practices, field space. It's a standard template that covers obligations of both the organization and the city, fees and billing, home complex maintenance and care, and timelines for submitting required documents like rosters and schedules. We also use the facility license and use agreements for Vacaville Swim Club's extensive use of the pool, which is year-round, and special use agreements, which are the other agreement that we use, tend to be less lengthy and cover a scope of services that's more unique to that particular user group and space. Some examples of special use agreements include Vaca Christian High School for their use of the pool during their swim season, or Junior Bulldogs for their use of Owl Patch.
Okay, so in order to help manage our seasonal contracts, we have the Youth Sports Advisory Team, or YSAT. YSAT includes representatives from each of our contracted leagues, key players from our Parks and Recreation Department, the Parks Department, and the Commission. We recently welcomed Commissioner Gollinger as our newest member. And the goal of YSAT is not only to keep the leagues up to date on all things contract related, but it serves as a roundtable for collaboration. It's a place to discuss issues and challenges, ask for support, and share successes. It really sheds light on the fact that everyone is in the same boat and fosters a team mentality versus seeing one another as competition. We have even witnessed combined fundraising efforts between organizations to work towards a common goal. So there's many benefits to having these type of contractual agreements with our local sports organizations. Meeting regularly and practicing proactive communication has proven to be mutually beneficial. We've seen more consistency in how things are done. There's open and direct communication with Public Works regarding any maintenance-related issues, allowing things to get addressed quickly and providing the type of support needed to run successful and safe programs. Plus, we all benefit due to a shared sense of responsibility when it comes to the league home complexes and the other allocated spaces. Both Pony Baseball and American Little League installed new scoreboards, and American also invested in professional field grading, adding to the quality and lifespan of the fields out at Centennial. When Pony was awarded the 3-year contract for the World Series, the city invested over $100,000 to make aesthetic improvements to Keating Park. We also had the fields at Nelson Park professionally graded and installed new scoreboards there as well. Shifting sports, Solano Community Tennis Association purchased benches for Centennial courts, and the city resurfaced and installed new pickleball courts at North Orchard, accommodating the growing pickleball community. So there's challenges. There are some challenges that come with these agreements. The growth these organizations are experiencing is leading to a deficit in our inventory of facilities, parks, fields, and our pools. And as you all know, our internal programming is overflowing to wait lists and facing the same challenges, utilizing the same limited spaces. School district facilities are often unavailable as they're running their own programs, and there's logistical challenges with gaining access to the facilities. We also know that our user groups have tried to go this route as well. It's costly, and it hasn't panned out so successfully for them either. Additionally, as word spreads, the eligible organizations who enter agreements with the city have the potential for discounted fees. Everybody wants a deal, and we just don't have the resources to do that, which is why the priority list that Elizabeth mentioned earlier comes in handy. So how do we tackle these challenges? Well, we are in regular communication with our user groups to discuss viable solutions. Some of these options include putting caps on registration, implementing stricter parameters on non-resident participation. The facility license and use agreement actually calls for Vacaville resident participation only. However, historically, there have been a handful of qualifying factors that allow some exceptions. So we're currently reviewing those and tightening them up. And we'll continue to work with all our user groups to ensure everyone is set up for success and the Vacaville community has a variety of options for organized sport. Oh, that was questions or comments?
Thank you, Jennifer and Elizabeth. Are there any questions from the commission? Commissioner Gollinger.
Towards me. So having attended a YSAT meeting, I can tell the commission that it is invaluable. And when I left, I kind of had a little parking lot meeting with the other presidents who represented the leagues. And I said, like, give it to me straight. Is this thing a pain in the butt? Like, do you hate coming to this meeting? And they all said, and I believe it when they said it, that they love it. And they love the collaboration. They love seeing each other face to face. Some of those people had never met each other before. And you're absolutely right. It removes the competitiveness of what is a chronic problem in every city. They have a field and I don't have a field. So it removes the competitiveness. It makes them all part of the team, and we're all part of the team. I don't envy you having to deal with the field space. I'm just going to call it a crisis because it's a great problem to have that we have so many kids in this community who want to play sports. It's awesome. We should really be patting ourselves on the back. But after we are done patting ourselves on the back, we need to figure out how to have more field space for these kids, because we should never tell kids, no, I don't have room for you. I'm a firm believer in where there's a will, there's a way. So I encourage my other commissioners to think yes from like now on when it comes to youth sports. But I have no questions for you. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Jennifer, with your 20 years of experience, we keep hearing this theme of just that we're a growing city, and that it doesn't seem like we're able to continue. We're not growing the fields and the courts and as we need to accommodate that growth. Have you seen that over the last 20 years?
Yeah, yes, nothing really has changed. Like the parks the fields still look the same. It's the same Keating Park that, was there in my childhood. So there's not more fields. Nothing really has changed. We've seen smaller parks added and fun new equipment and things of that nature, but nothing that's going to house like a sports program or something that we could, put our own internal programming out on. So there's fun things that I've seen happen, but nothing that's going to accommodate like what we do in our work world or the leagues that are trying to use the same spaces.
Can you speak to how that issue has affected some of the user groups? Is there specific examples of user groups that are just wanting more space or go to other communities or just continue to struggle or are disbanded? Or I don't want to put...
No, it's okay. It's more current, so I don't have to dig too far. We can talk a little bit about the girls' fast pitch Nelson Alpatch switch. So in doing that, we were realizing what our limits were in the space at Alpatch and trying to look at Nelson as a positive switch for us. But really, there's a reduction in the programming that we can offer out of Nelson. We will lose rentals by going to Nelson. We're losing a whole field as a city by going to Nelson, but girls fast pitch can't fit there anymore. So we're out of space and out of options. They go to the school district and they have to pay to utilize the district fields. It's expensive. They have to pay for janitor fees that don't make sense because they don't take care of the fields and things of that nature. So there is a visible struggle that you can see happening. And when we get all of the leagues in the same room, and we talk about having to cap their registration, it's the same reaction. They're like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to be able to serve everybody, but there's going to we're getting close. We're not there yet, but every chance we get, we bring it up, because what else are we going to do? We're going to not have room. So it's, unless we do something, they're going to have to change the way they schedule things. They're going to have to reduce their hours. They're going to have to figure it out if they don't want to cap their registrations. So.
And then just sort of a related question, the competitive user groups, are we able to sometimes accommodate them, or do they, because my understand is that they are constantly struggling to get space because they're given the more lower priority.
Yeah, that would be, we invite our local competitive leagues as part of our fall ball program, and we do prioritize them for the spring in their allocations. But like the travel ball, specifically if we're talking about baseball fields, not our like inside facilities, they are a low priority. We have local travel ball though that are housed out of Vacaville that, because we're moving to Nelson, just as an example, they won't have rentable space next year and they're scrambling. They don't know what to do. But we're in open communications about it. They know it's happening, but now they don't have anywhere to practice in Vacaville. So yeah, they will be, before we push the Vacaville residents out, they'll go, the travel organizations that rent our spaces will go first. Yeah.
Okay. So if you, with these challenges of limited facilities, fields and courts, you create wait lists, or you end up the organization just goes to another community, and then sometimes you can accommodate the wait list. Sometimes I'm guessing you just those youth just don't get served.
Correct. And some of them, if you want to use basketball as an example, some have been playing in our basketball league for their whole lives. And then they'll hit a season where they don't get on a roster fast enough, and then they don't get to play that season. And we can't do anything about it because we don't have anywhere to put them. So our wait lists are fairly lengthy. We do have hundreds of kids on them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
It is.
Vice Chair Gutierrez.
Yeah, I don't even know what I have to contribute of value, because it is extremely sad to turn any child away, even if they're outside of Vacaville. I don't care. Like, if they want to play, they want to play. But if we can't accommodate them, we can't accommodate them. And as we know, we're continuing to grow. There's new developments popping up, and schools are limited, and space for them to play sports that they want to is limited. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be any resolve anytime soon. But anyways, I was wondering about the decreased availability at the schools. So was there availability at the schools that's no longer available?
Not necessarily. I think just the amount of demand we would have for it, and then the timing of our programming lines up with when they're in school. And like for basketball, we run a huge winter basketball program.
Right.
Well, that's when they're playing basketball inside their gyms, and the weather is forcing their outdoor sports inside their gym facilities. So, we try to get an actual schedule put together at an outdoor facility, and we can like patch stuff in, but we can't make a season out of it. Like we can get like a Tuesday at 4, and then we might be able to get a Saturday it's just the consistency is difficult. And then we've had challenges actually accessing the schools consistently and having somebody open them. And then we have angry participants and parents.
Yeah, I remember my kids I think we were at Fairmont one time, and we were waiting because no one was there to open up Fairmont. But the availability at the high school is super limited, and then you go to the elementary schools, and there's no one there. So I understand that coordination is a little bit difficult, but yeah, hopefully there could be some resolve there, because they do have indoor courts. I mean, they're not, high school indoor,
Right.
but I mean, it works.
It is some space, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well,
If I can just piggyback onto that, sometimes we have to consider the trade-offs, right? So if we want to be able to expand our programs and use other facilities, we also have to be able to have the resources to put staffing in those locations, equipment in those locations. So those are all things to consider when we're talking about expanding to somewhere that's maybe not one of our home complexes. So if we're not going to be in the same home school facility even, then that's just another layer of complexity that we have to tackle.
yeah, absolutely.
I'll just add storage. That's my last.
Oh,
There's no
Always storage.
It's our staff are carrying like basketballs in their cars and then, oops, I worked last and now I have the basketballs. Stuff like that.
Yeah, wow. Right.
Any other questions? Then I will open it up to the public. If there's any comments or questions from the public, please come forward. Good evening, Tony. Oh,
Tony Smith. I live out in Browns Valley. And yeah, I've lived here a long time, so I've seen all the changes. I don't understand why we build a lot of parks that are neighborhood parks. Okay, they're little cookie cutter parks with not much in them. And the maintenance on them and all that, and they're all over town. I know the developer likes to put a little park in, but they're not very feasible. We need to build a park, a real park, a community park with bathrooms, tennis courts, baseball fields, the whole 9 yards. George Duke is too small. That's been obsolete for years. The skating center, that was the basic onion plants warehouse. Okay. Keating Park. Okay. The maintenance goes on all these cities and stuff, and I'd like to see a little bit more maintenance out of Keating. That Measure M money is being spent on some parks that are existing. They are newer than Andrews Park and Keating Park. Keating's old. Andrews is old. Okay. And to make a long story short, somebody cut the lights down at Willis Jepson, the school district, and that was a softball field. Now there's a usable field right there. It's been there since the early 60s. Now, that's the kind of stuff that goes on. And we used to have a joint unified city school district agreement. We used to use their fields, they use our stuff, and it kind of worked out. The city's getting too big now, and we need more amenities. And it's getting to the point, we had a 30-team tournament I coach, and I volunteer doing fields out of Keating all the time. So, I'm pretty busy with 2 teams. I had 2 teams last year, 1 team this year. And you're right, it's harder to find volunteers. It's harder to find people to do maintenance. And they're building a BMX bike track, which that's fine. But who's going to maintain that? That's at Centennial Park. I mean, these things are nice, but it takes money and maintenance and volunteers. You're limited. You're big time limited right there. And then things need maintenance, and the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. So there's a lot of things that I've seen, a lot of changes, and some of the strips and easements where I live, we pay an assessment, okay? And there needs to be a little more oversight on some of this stuff. I mean, there's been leaks out by my house, not to go on about other things, but it took like a year to fix the main line that was broken out there. And I don't know if they couldn't find the parts or what the deal was. Also, when they rent our fields, when we rent fields and we have tournaments, the city benefits. We had a 30-team tournament and we had an international tournament. China came, we had teams from Aruba, we had teams from Virginia Beach, Virginia, Chicago, all over. Hyatt, they stayed at the Hyatt, they spent money, they went to hotels, they went shopping. The team from China, they told me they love the factory stores. They were shopping over there. So these are very beneficial things to the city. And the city manager and the people here should start looking at parks and recreation and those kind of things as more important. Nothing against police and fire. We need that. But they take a lion's share of the money. And I have no problem with that. But at what cost? Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
At the cost of everything else.
Thank you.
So I would like to see some changes that way, okay? And anyway, thanks for taking my time. I don't mean to go on and on here, but it would be good if they would spend a little bit more on that. Keating Park was built by the inmates, okay? So the city didn't have to expend any money. If you go to other cities, you have these beautiful complexes. We play baseball up in Sacramento. We go to even Fairfield. FIBA plays in Fairfield. A lot of our kids are going FIBA. They don't want to play here because of fields, plus there's not enough coaches, there's not enough fields. So, I mean, we're losing kids that way too, so. And we're a growing community, so.
Thank you, Tony,
All right,
for your
thank
comments.
you.
I appreciate it.
Another Tony Moras. I'm president of the Solana Community Tennis Association. Staff, commissioners, just some comments. I've been talking to Elizabeth and all for years now. We always look for more courts in one.
Tony, come in a little bit closer.
Sorry.
There you go.
We've always looked for more courts in one place. And I'm always told by City of Vacaville and the City of Fairfield, we are recreation, not programming. And yet we get more resources or results out of activity in centralized locations. So if we could do that with Centennial Park with the master park plan. We did work for that. It's happening there. But I'm hearing like things like future development east of Leisure Town, 40,000 new residents. And we're talking about neighborhood parks. Neighborhood parks are a waste, as Tony said. They're kind of nice for the folks that live there, can maybe walk there. There's not much you can do with them. You're talking about need for facilities to make things happen, more gym space, more soccer fields, more baseball diamonds. You can't do that in a neighborhood park. So my suggestion there, and you guys have some input on that, is as they plan these new divisions, instead of letting each development put a neighborhood park in, congregate those things and put a regional or a community park in, so you can have lights, so you can have more facilities and get more use of that space. And then taking care of facilities, you mentioned we had put the benches in at Centennial Park. Our association is willing to do more at the park. It is really severe conditions. You know, we have trouble playing there, and so do the teams that come on in. And we'd like to make them more accommodating. Windscreens were up for the longest time, or were up, and then the wind's taken the fence down a couple of times. We're willing to put windscreens up. We'd maintain them if the city would allow us to do that with plastic ties, so they tear off instead of being held up. And there's things we'd like to do to improve conditions there, if we can work with you guys in making it happen.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? If not, we'll close the public comment. Let's see, and then we will move on to our next business item, item 8B. Director Mulder, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, good evening once again. So this next business item is on our 2025 development impact fee, an update on this process that the city is going through right now. And we have Park Planner Nemo Gonzalez here to present on this item.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I've got somewhat of a technical presentation for you. I'm going to try to do it slowly so you can follow along.
Thank you.
I'm coming here before you tonight to provide an informational presentation on the status of the 2025 Development Impact Fee Update. No decisions can be made here tonight. This presentation is for informational purposes only. The Mitigation Fee Act authorizes the city's Development Impact Fee Program, otherwise known as DIF. The state's government code defines the DIF as a fee charged to an applicant with approval of a development project that, for the purpose of paying all or a portion of the cost of public facilities and infrastructure. Our Vacaville Municipal Code, or VMC, specifies how the city administers a DIF. And Vacaville's DIF was initially established in the early 90s, and it wasn't updated for 30 years, not until 2022. Updates to the DIF in 2025 are meant to address several factors that have impacted materials and labor costs over the last few years. Our city policy documents are what guides the growth related to parks and recreation. These include both the parks element of the general plan and the Park and Rec Master Plan adopted by Council in 2021. The policy documents receive and are influenced heavily by community feedback that includes a lot of the user groups that Jennifer and Elizabeth talked about earlier. For the 2021 PRMP, I think we had close to 2,000 respondents. Among other information, these documents include the levels of service and our facility standards. So if we look at the chart up here on the screen, our level of service is 4.5 acres of parks per 1,000 residents. And our standards are things like our minimum park sizes and our amenities that are located at each category of park. I think I want to address some of the things that were discussed in some of the community comments for the presentation before, because I think it's relevant to what's up here. I feel like every category of park has a specific purpose. We have neighborhood parks, community parks, and neighborhood parks, or I apologize, regional parks, and those three categories make up the 4.5 acres. Neighborhood parks are often used for practices. So if we can't accommodate a lot of the user groups in some of our community parks, those are often used as practice spaces during the week. They're also meant for more passive recreation for specific neighborhoods. I think that we should be advocating for the development of all of our park categories because they all serve a purpose. Community parks are more for program sports, so think of baseball tournaments or soccer tournaments, anything of that sort. Things that have extended hours, and so maybe some nighttime lighting is more appropriate. And again, a lot of research goes into sort of all of the standards that are listed in the PRMP. I think if we are able to move forward with all of the standards listed, I think we can start to solve some of the problems that the city has. All of the different categories that are up here are what make up the entirety of the Park and Rec fee. That includes parkland, park construction or development, facilities, and trails. I'm going to get started by talking about parkland acquisition. Our level of service, as I've already indicated, is 4.5 acres of park per 1,000 residents. And that breakdown is 1.8 acres of neighborhood park, 1.7 of community park, and 1 acre of regional park. So cumulatively, they're 4.5. Vacaville has a land acquisition requirement of 3.5 per 1,000 residents. So of the three park categories, we do not collect parkland fees for regional park because Lagoon Valley is intended to be the only regional park in the city. And that acreage exceeds 300 acres, so I think we're covered with the land. We only collect development fees for regional park. And as you can see, this is a peer agency analysis. And developers have a larger park land obligation than all other agencies in this nearby area. So if a developer were to approach anywhere from West Sacramento up, those 13 agencies, they would have a larger parkland obligation than they would in both Fairfield and Vacaville, which are tied for last place at 3.5 acres per 1,000 residents. Oops. There is one other thing that I wanted to address that's up here, and that is the Quimby column. Vacaville collects a land acquisition development impact fee, whereas most of these other agencies have what's called the Quimby ordinance. It's essentially just a different mechanism to collect parkland or in lieu fees to accommodate park development. And so what that means is when you are comparing park and rec fee from a different agency that does have a Quimby ordinance, our fee is always going to be higher because the mechanism that we're using is the development impact fee, whereas they are collecting their parkland through that other mechanism. So other than Vacaville, West Sacramento is the only other agency that does not have a Quimby ordinance. Next, we're going to review park development. So these are the improvements and amenities that a park land receives. I've already spoken that I had the opportunity to talk about or to a lot of our peer agencies and landscape architects that work with our peer agencies to source some information, including bids and estimates on recently built parks. We then took these recently prepared bids and estimates and derived an average cost. We took extra care to make sure that the parks included similar amenities and were similar in size. The information on the blue column there represents a figure very close to an average cost for these different park categories. We did manage to round the average down just a tiny bit. So for neighborhood park, it was slightly over $850, but we rounded down to $850. For community parks, it was slightly over $900. We rounded down. The 2022 figures, they were figures that were provided by a consultant that was preparing our Park and Rec master plan. So essentially it wasn't derived from actual bids or estimates. It was essentially a planning tool, and we've updated the fees to reflect actual tangible costs. Another piece of information to share is that most of the capital improvement projects have soft costs. In fact, all of them do. We omitted the soft costs from the 2022 update for Parks and Rec. And so we remedied that in the 2025 update. And so even if we didn't rectify record inflation and all of the other issues that we're having, sourcing materials, impacts that the tariffs are having, we would still be going up 40% because we are adding these soft costs. And these soft costs, they cover things like environmental clearance and consulting costs. So they're necessary to move forward with any development. Now, this is a breakdown of some of the soft costs for CIP projects, or whether it's a park that would be built by a developer, or what we call a turnkey park. And developers are eligible for partial soft cost reimbursements in addition to a full hard cost reimbursement if they enter into a park agreement with the city and provide a turnkey park. So most of this fee would go back to the developer if we enter into an agreement with them to actually build the park. This slide here shows a cumulative impact of adjusting the hard costs and adding the missing soft costs. So we're acknowledging that it is a big jump, but we're also acknowledging that without this, we cannot move forward with park development. If we aren't able to negotiate with developers through a development agreement or any other mechanism to provide a turnkey park, we just cannot, we won't have the resources to actually build the park ourselves. The next category is facilities. As many of you know, the city has a lot of great programming at our facilities. You just heard a presentation talking about a few of them. And while our staff, including our public works staff, do a great job of maintaining the facilities, they're old. The last two were built in the early 90s. That was Ulatis and the Duke, back when the population of Vacaville was 70,000. Our current population is hovering around 100,000. And as has already been mentioned earlier, at full build out, we're projected to be at about 140, or twice the population of 1990, the last time that a facility was built. In order for new facilities to accommodate these future Vacaville residents, we also need the room to move some programming to make much needed improvements and renovations to our existing facilities. So theoretically, even if we wanted to upgrade some of our facilities, including the skate center that was built in 1950, where would we move that programming to? We don't physically have the space to do it. So as the population expands within the city, so must the facilities and that house all of the programming that the city offers. In 2022, 5 facilities were included in the DIF. In 2025, we're proposing adding the additional 9 facility projects that were identified in the implementation chapter of the Park and Rec Master Plan. Developers don't have the full burden of covering the facility expansion costs. They only have to pay their fair share. Because at full build out, the added population is going to equate to about 30% of the overall population. The developer's obligation is 30% of the cost. And that's bore out here by this spreadsheet. So the figure under the 2025 column is overall project cost, whereas the fee that the developers would have to pay would be the 30% highlighted in blue. And the last category up for discussion is trails and trailheads. While most of our trails are currently located at Lagoon Valley, Eastern Hills, there are plans to expand into the Lagoon Valley, Southern Hills, and other parts of Vacaville like Caligari Open Space. And our level of service is about 970 linear feet of trails per 1,000 residents. This is on par with our current trail offerings. So the trails fees were generated by the individual who is leading the diff update, and she is averaging the cost of 2 trail projects, and she's adjusting for inflation, and she's also adding the missing soft costs. So the pie chart up here shows how much of the park diff is made up by the different individual subcategories that we just discussed. And what they reflect is what is called the maximum allowable fee. So this is all justified fee, all coming from levels of service that are listed in our C documents, again, including the general plan and the PRMP, along with other master planned projects that are listed in the implementation chapter of the Park and Rec Master Plan. So as you can see, facilities makes up the biggest portion of the fee, followed by the different park categories. Additionally, if you can see the makeup of the land acquisition, so we do not have a Quimby of our land acquisition fee, or all of it currently is coming from the development and impact fee. So I stated this in the staff report, but as a reminder, City Council as the policy makers can choose to change the fees below the maximum. And staff has prepared multiple options for City Council to consider should they choose to go that route. Some of the policy options that are related to Parks and Rec include the implementing a Quimby ordinance. So this would be a significant reduction in the land acquisition portion of the diff. It wouldn't necessarily eliminate it because there could be, obligation agreements or development agreements that already have us sort of obliged to credit a developer through that mechanism. So there are also specific rules, and I'm not an expert on the Subdivision Map Act, but if your development is small enough, you're not necessarily dedicating land as part of your development, you would pay an in lieu fee. So another policy option includes prioritizing facility projects. So staff, including the recreation managers, our director and myself got together and we sort of prioritize some of the facilities that we would like to see move forward in the 2025. And we essentially would phase those projects in with this specific update with future facilities in a subsequent update. And lastly, we would like to implement a policy to encourage turnkey parks. And this policy would help set up and facilitate entering into park agreements, resulting in a fee credit opportunity for developers. So the thing that we hear from the development community quite a bit is that build parks for cheaper and for faster, and the city can, which is probably true. And so in order to incentivize them, we want to be able to encourage who wants to be in a position to negotiate developers to sort of a turnkey park be sort of the baseline starting of the conversation. This slide here shows an option to prioritize the 8 lists in the 20 days. So these would be the facilities that were with this specific update should council choose to go that route. Doing so would result in a reduction nearly 25 for a 2,500 square foot home. So the would go from the maximum of 9,320 down to 6,869. It shows a 6 facility project not be added to the 5 diff and would feature diff update. Should the city council elected with the policy options shows what the adjustment would be for Parks and Recreation for a 2,500. Again, implementing it would significantly reduce the land fee, push facilities to a future that would moderate the facilities fee. And because the fee is a percentage of all effects, and any fee would result in slight reduction in the admin. The cumulative would be a fee reduction of $5,000 for a 2,500-foot single-family home. Maximum allowable would be 7,109 versus the options implemented would 22,063. So for some context, shows all of the fees, City of Vacaville support impact fee. So covering the Parks and Rec fee, there are other fees that are charged to developments, and wanted to share. So the diff is the adopted 2022 fee. The April fee is the maximum allowable. In June, some slight modification came down. And if the council were to elect all of the persons, it would bring us down to 4,500. That shows Vacaville's today. Vacaville's maximum fee prepared in April, and Vacaville's fee if council did the policy options, and include options that with Parks and Rec options and other options. And also comparison to some of the agencies in where we're falling in line. And one of the things on this chart is that in reaching out to start planners that do what I for some of these peer agencies, that they had indicated that it's a long time since they updated these, so times what I came across that they are not able to with their park project.
So we will reconvene our meeting. Thank you, Nemo, for the great presentation. I think I'll start off with some questions for you, and then I'll turn to my fellow commissioners, and then we'll open it up to the public as well. This fee program is essential. My understanding is that it is essential because it's the primary funding mechanism for funding the expansion of our whole public infrastructure, parks, our whole park system as well, as we continue to grow. Is that right?
That's correct. I'm trying to sort of reframe it to make it a little bit more digestible, but theoretically, if we didn't move forward with new parks, I'm going with an extreme, but we did approve development. So new houses came in. What you would see is more of the sort of issues that were identified in the earlier presentation, where the existing facilities that are aging are having to accommodate not only the existing population, but this newer population. It's easier to see in facilities like the pool. We've got one single pool that serves all of Vacaville. And so what you would encounter if you add 40,000 new residents, but you do not expand on the pool, is longer waiting lists and more demand, and then eventually more wear and tear, and then an inability to even fix that without having to shut down the pool altogether. So that'll be exacerbated. The development impact fee, again, it's really mitigating for new growth, and we're not allowed to sort of fix any of the existing issues with these fees. It's specifically to serve the growing population of Vacaville. So we're offering the same thing that we offer to existing residents to these new residents that are coming in.
Great. So it's common. These type of development impact fees are common across the state. So we're not doing anything unusual here in Vacaville. These are common fees, and because I think a resident might just say, well, I pay taxes, I know, every year on my tax bill. Why is that not enough? But my understanding is that just is not enough, and that in order to expand the community, the infrastructure of the community, these fees are essential, and that the concept is that that development, as we approve it, should pay for that growth. Development should pay for its own growth, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Even if you pay into something like a lighting and landscape fee, that's sort of a maintenance fund that maintains the parks in perpetuity. But the actual initial capital cost to develop a park is coming from the development impact fee. And you are correct. All of the cities in California do this.
Right. And so if this fee program is insufficient over a long period of time, and you had talked about that we plan our facilities based upon levels of service, like 5 acres of parks per 1,000 residents. So there's some type of a standard based upon the growing population. You need to continue to add parks and recreational facilities. And so if that fee program is insufficient, then what happens? So some of the issues you talked about, but essentially we end up lowering our level of service and have to compromise on our programming. Right?
That's correct. There's a lot of variables. So we've got some projects that we weren't able to negotiate with the developer to provide a turnkey park. And so the city's on the hook to build the park. And what you see is if like Vacaville, you don't update your fees for 30 years, those fees that are collected are insufficient to be able to build the park. And so what you see is a longer sort of arc for this park to actually be built. And so you get a lot of residents that move into a development who are promised a park, who sometimes will wait a decade to see the park come in to their neighborhood. So that's the end result of not being able to update the fees to stay current with what it costs to construct parks.
And looking hindsight, it would have been probably better that the fee program that was established in 1992 would have been updated more regularly, like every few years, adjusted for inflation, so that it kept up with our standards and such.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so specifically for Parks and Rec, we had a Park and Rec master plan that was updated in 2021. So we would have had to revisit the impact fee for our department as part of that because new projects were added. But I feel like the delta between the current fee and the update would be significantly smaller and less controversial if we had kept up with updating the fee on a regular basis.
And that goes to my next point, and I think you have the slide where you show the level of service standards for different communities, and I think Roseville is at the top, about 9 acres per 1,000, but there's many that are actually 5. Isn't it true that the general standard across the state, the goal is 5 acres of neighborhood and community parks per 1,000? Is that true?
I only know my anecdotal research. So a lot of the agencies that I was looking into, I didn't include a lot of them because they were just like outside of the realm of this area here. But a lot of them were 5. And I think it's also tied to a lot of these agencies do have a Quimby ordinance. And I believe that the Quimby maxes out at 5. And so, they are already providing that much acreage. And so that is their level of service.
And my understanding is that general standard of 5 acres per 1,000 is actually for neighborhood and community parks, where we're actually at 3.5. Is that correct? So I know that we have the advantage of Lagoon Valley and we have that additional 1%. But if you did a fair comparison of all these communities, and you drill down on what that 5 acres is, it's neighborhood and community parks to get you to 5, and we're actually at 3.5. So I guess my point is our level of service could arguably be considered lower than a lot of other communities.
Correct. I did see some different variations, like Roseville does include trails in their 9 acres or open space, but most of them were made up of the 2 categories, neighborhood and community park. So you are correct.
Right. And could it possibly be, I mean, if we're talking, the fee program was established in 1992, over 30 years ago. And it was, we've sort of recognized it was, it was insufficient for many, many years. It wasn't updated. And if you don't have the funding to continue to expand the park system to serve new development, could it be possible that our level of service is low because we had a fee program that possibly was neglected for so long? And that's sort of putting us into the situation that we're in today.
Correct. The important thing to highlight is that the level of service is really a target. We want to be there, and we're striving for that. But theoretically, if we're not able to collect the fees to develop the parks, we could fall behind or further behind.
Great. And then I wanted to, Roseville is at 9 acres per 1,000. Does Roseville have residential development there?
They have significant residential development.
So the fact that they actually have a high level of service and resulting probably fees or other obligations to developers is not deterring development in Roseville.
Yeah, I don't think that those things have to be mutually exclusive. So you are correct in that. I think most people would argue that parks are a good thing, right? And they make a community more attractive to purchasing a home. I know it was for me. So I don't think that they necessarily have to be at odds with each other. Providing amenities for the people that you're building a home for will attract them to that specific home, or it may play a role in them making a decision to invest in purchasing a home in that community. So,
okay,
yeah,
great. I'll leave it there. I'll turn to my fellow commissioners if they have questions. Commissioner Frazier.
So I know that like transportation does the same thing. They collect, a section of fees too. And I think theirs was like also 22,000 or something like that. And then at the last meeting in August where the city presented and all of that, it was interesting because they gave lists of, these are the projects that have been completed or at least partially completed with developer impact fees, and there was like 32 on the Parks and Rec since 1992 and a whole bunch on the transportation and all of that kind of stuff. So that's really where it goes. And so, which is a good thing, why we need these. But I did have one question. I'm a little bit confused about this idea of the Quimby ordinance versus a developer agreement versus a turnkey park. Or are they maybe kind of the same thing or similar?
So the Quimby ordinance is it's a mechanism through the Subdivision Map Act that would obligate the developer to provide parkland, assuming that their development is big enough to provide parkland.
Right.
If it's a small development, they have to pay in lieu fees. That is different than a turnkey park because the Quimby is only collecting the land portion. So if you don't upgrade the land or develop the land or add amenities to the land, it's not a park.
It just sits there.
It's park land. Probably it could be zoned a park, but if you're not adding any sort of amenities, people aren't using it like a park. And so the Quimby would only resolve the park land issue. We would still have to collect fees for developing the park. So not every single development has a development agreement. The ones that do, oftentimes, if they're large enough, we do try to negotiate with the developer to provide a turnkey park if their obligation, if what they need to mitigate for is matching our standards. If you're building a development that's bringing in thousands of people into Vacaville and you have to mitigate 5 acres, we're likely to try to negotiate with you to provide a neighborhood park that's going to serve your residents that are coming into your development. So a turnkey park essentially would be an agreement, and the DA can be a mechanism to sort of come to some preliminary deal points that would then be elaborated on via a park agreement where we outline all of the fee credits that the developer would get. So they're still obligated to pay the diff, and then we would sort of outline, okay, since you are providing a park, if you're building the park, we are going to turn around and give you these fees back.
Okay.
Does that answer all your?
That's it. Thanks.
Great. Any other questions from the commission? Great. Hearing none, I'll open it up to the public. Or is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this item?
Hi, my name is Ryan Bates. Nemo's presentation paints a very dire picture for us, I think. And the reality of that is that it's cumulative of what's happened since 1992. Right? There's no hiding in that we haven't raised fees and raised diff, and raised that money. So all we can do really moving forward is what does our future look like when we add 40,000 people into the east side of Leisurestown Road? I think about my daughter who's 13, 10 years from now, she's getting married. 5 years after that, she's got a kid playing Little League. She wants to live in Vacaville. My neighborhood is out of her market. Where's she going to live? Possibly over there in Leisurestown, or over there in the north side. I'm sorry, the east side of Leisurestown. So we have an opportunity to guide council firmly, right? Because Parks and Rec is only one small subset of where we actually, because there's money that has to go into transportation and into into police and fire and all of the different things that go into the developmental impact fees. But I really think we have an opportunity to push council in a way that makes sense and the guidance of how we see Vacaville, right? I think that's really important. I mean, the numbers and the pie charts are fantastic. They're way over my head when I look at them. I'm a photographer as a career. I'm a creative individual. I serve at your request also on the Arts Advisory Committee. Where do we put public art? Right? Where does that fit into anything, right? We're working on numerous projects inside of that. It's another conversation we can talk about in the future. Facilities, dilapidated facilities, larger places where we can have my role here as the incoming president of the Solano Community Tennis Association. Where do we have big sets of courts, right, that have lights? Daylight savings is coming very soon. Right? Very soon. Where do the 500 people that play tennis in Vacaville, where do they go after 5 o'clock after they're done with work Monday through Friday? Right? That just doesn't exist on the forecourts at Three Oaks. Right? So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. I don't envy that position for you guys moving forward, but you have an opportunity to hold council and the city responsible for what Vacaville really looks like moving forward for baseball, soccer, tennis, pickleball, swimming, basketball, everybody, and what we see, moving forward in the community. So I appreciate your hard work and do good for the city, because I know it's not easy. And Blair, your comments to Nemo in the very beginning were spot on. Those were exactly my questions. It's like, how does this affect it? How does, a lot of questions about how and why, right? How and why we do things. So that's right on.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Any other comments from the public? Then I will close public comment. Any other comments from the commission? Commissioner Gollinger?
Good job, Nemo. I actually have a question that just popped into my head. What ability do we have as a city to incentivize developers to, instead of building stroller parks, to actually kind of pull their, for example, if it's a development on the east side of town and it's, 5,000 houses, how do we incentivize them building one large community park instead of 5 stroller parks?
That's a good question. And it's an easy question to answer because, again, the policy documents that the City of Vacaville and City Council has adopted outlines all of the standards. And one of the standards is not to build pocket parks or stroller parks. The standards are the 3 park categories listed. They've got a minimum park size. They've got a minimum list of amenities. And so if the developers are in compliance with the policy documents, it's really quite easy. It's only when they want to deviate from the approved policies that becomes a challenge. So again, the development impact fee, the nexus or the rationale or the connection that it's making is how to build parks that are in compliance with the policy documents. And we don't list stroller or pocket parks in the policy documents. And so we're not, if a developer, like the developer at Roberts Ranch, wanted to build stroller parks, they built it at their cost. We did not credit them anything. So it was above and beyond their park obligation. The critical thing is making sure that future developments are also building parks that are to the standards listed in the policy documents. If that happens, I think we're okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments? I'll make just one last comment. I've actually participated in all of the stakeholder outreach meetings over the last 2 or 3 months, I guess, with that was largely staff and the development community. And then I know staff has had a number of presentations before the council as well, and I've participated or attended or watched all of those. And one of the things that I think is clear is that the fee increase is significant. I mean, that's just a fact. And our developers have been great partners, and so it's important to listen to them and take their feedback. And I think council intends on doing that later this month. But what I also heard were some very compelling reasons why the fee increase is so large, and you can't really dismiss that. And over my 3 years on the commission, I continue to hear, like we heard today, a lack of fields, courts, and facilities for our rec programs and our sports leagues. I mean, we continue to hear that. Nemo did a presentation at our last meeting going through all of the work that we've done on many of our parks throughout over the last 4 or 5 years. Did a great presentation, and I encourage you to watch that. But if you hear very closely, numerous times through that presentation, there was discussions of we had to compromise this, we had a shortfall here, we had to cut this out, we weren't able to do this, and this. But we're getting by, but we had to make so many of the compromises, and largely that's because of the insufficiency of this essential fee program. And so I just think that this is just an important effort of staff and one of the most consequential actions of the council that they'll have probably in their term. And so I first, because we have the 3 directors and you, Nemo, that have been working very, very hard on this effort. I mean, you've put in a lot of effort. I mean, actually having 5, 6 outreach meetings is extensive, and that webpage is incredibly transparent. You've got all the information, all of the cost estimates and surveys and comparisons. I mean, any information you need is right there. And I just applaud staff for, one could argue over the last 3 years, this fee program has really been neglected and we've suffered. But this city staff are really doing the right thing, and it's hard, but bringing forward an updated fee program that will reset and get us to a position where we can address the impact of new development and not compromise our level of service, and particularly our park system. So I just wanted to thank all the staff for that. And my last word would just be that I just caution the council not to look too short term, but look more long term to the sustainability of our infrastructure, so that we, because I would think that is something that if we've somewhat have seen this, that if we have an insufficient fee programs going forward and we continue to compromise, our infrastructure is just going to continue and continue to suffer. And it's really, really hard, if not impossible, to actually get that back. And I think that we've seen that going forward. So and if the fees end up, as the developers say, possibly slow development, I actually think that's probably okay. I would rather have responsible growth, making sure that any growth that we have, we're actually providing a sound infrastructure to serve that growth and not making compromises. So the staff have done a great job and a lot of hard work, and the council has got some really hard decisions, and the council will hear from the development community here later in August. But I just wanted to set that expectation as well, that let's just not compromise our infrastructure, the infrastructure of our city, just for a short-term goal of encouraging more and more development, responsible development. So that's my comments. Anything else? Great. So let's see. Let's move on to let's see. We'll move on to committee reports. So Commissioner Kelsey, Play for All Committee. Oh, go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nima, for that excellent report. Thank you, Chairman Oz, for that insightful comments. We started out the evening with kind of a celebration of one person's duty to this community with Jennifer, acknowledging her contributions, and I thought that was really wonderful. And then we slipped and slid into this dystopian, almost a dystopian view of what's happening in our city, sort of. It boils down to a quality of life issue. You know, we are attempting to grow, and at the same time, we're also attempting to provide the right quality of life to all of our citizens. The writer Victor Hugo, I might be misquoting here, but said a society should be judged based on how well we take care of all of our members, not just the ones at the top. And I think creating parks, creating recreational spaces, creating methods to finance, maintain, and grow them is one of the cornerstones of a society, of a town. I think one of the shining spots of what we're doing on the Play for All Committee, I think, is what Tom Philippi is doing at the Play for All Park. It's really a wonderful thing. The land was donated. He's been able to get grants, sponsors to pay for most of everything over there. But there's a lot still yet to be done. It's one of the few parks probably in the nation that not just caters to the disadvantaged, the handicapped, people with autism, people on the spectrum, people in wheelchairs, kids in wheelchairs, creating specific types of recreational facilities for them to enjoy, so they feel that they're part of something. But there's still a lot of challenges, still a lot of things that still need to be done there. One of the wonderful things they did was they had this misting station that they just opened up for the hot month, but unfortunately they had to shut it down for some issues with the concrete, so they're addressing those concrete issues. They are planning a baseball field, as I think we all know, which I think is going to create a really wonderful resource for the community, not only from across the street in Brighton Landing, but from other communities. People can go there and have their sports teams and play and enjoy the facilities. The other thing that they're doing is planning. Still need the funding for it, is creating the 2 dog parks, a small dog park and a large dog park over there, as well as a walking trail, bike trail that's going to sort of it's going to go around the whole park. They're also looking for funding for the small little musical stage, so kids can go up there and play their musical instruments and entertain themselves, their parents and families and all that. Tom is looking at getting additional funding from Kaiser. I have some numbers here, but I'm not sure they matter right now. They've been granted 115 grand by Kaiser, and another 25 grand has been promised. I asked if we could reach out to Lonza, which is the other big employer in this city. I seem to have a contact. I've reached out, and perhaps we can get them to come in and do some sponsorship opportunities over there as well by having their picnic stations. They're covered concrete picnic stations that are branded, and they're looking for doing a few more over there, as well as a splash zone or a splash station where I mentioned to Tom we could mimic something that we did in that I saw in Universal Studios, a beautiful splash zone where kids were dumping buckets of water on each other and water spouting out of the ground. But these things are not cheap. Yeah. That alone is $500,000. So where is that money coming from? It's going to come from private donors. It's going to come from very creative funding types of efforts. But I think we're on the right track in terms of what's happening at Play for All, and I think it's a wonderful place to go and bring your families, enjoy. Go hang out at the picnic stations and have a family birthday, and it's a really wonderful park for all. It's not just for autistic children or handicapped children. It's just it's a park for everybody. So that's all I got.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Kelsey, for the update. Any commissioner questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next report from Commissioner Gollinger on the Youth Sports Advisory Team.
I feel like I've talked a lot tonight. So I'll make it brief. We did have a great meeting this last go around, my first meeting last month. And we did talk about the different leagues putting in a non-resident cap on their rosters. Most of them are actually already doing this, but we just reiterated the need to make sure that we're serving Vacaville youth first. They were not resistant to this idea at all. They totally understand what the situation is with our field space. One of the things that I asked for baseball and soccer, who were represented at the meeting, to do, and hopefully I will have more in the future, is I asked them to please give me a kind of a highlight reel of a particular player who's played in their organization before and is doing something really cool, or player of the week, something that I can bring back to commission so you guys could know about how cool the kids are who play Vacaville sports. Soccer, I'll just share, had 2 players who grew up playing soccer in Vacaville, one of which scored his first goal at Feather River College, and one of which started on the defensive line for New Mexico State. So we're going places, Vacaville. And we just re-emphasized to everyone at YSAT that it would behoove them to come to this September 23rd City Council meeting. As I will reiterate to my fellow commissioners, it also would behoove you to be at the City Council meeting on September 23rd. Because we're all connected. And that's really it. Thanks.
A clarifying question, Commissioner Gollinger. Did I hear you say that because of our limited fields, we're trying to get the user groups to change their makeup by reducing their non-resident attendees? Yeah.
Correct. They already are limited to how many non-residents they can accept into their rosters by contract with the city. So, but we're asking them to hold to a 15% cap for non-residents. It's a little tricky. Elizabeth, if you want to jump in.
Sure, I can shed a little bit more light on that. So the field allocation contracts that I was talking about earlier typically include language that say Vacaville residents only are allowed to participate in the leagues. But historically, there have been a number of factors that have allowed for someone to qualify as a resident. So for example, Travis Air Force Base family, or a child goes to, their family lives out of the city but the child goes to school in Vacaville. So some of those types of things. So with all of the leagues experiencing growth, in 2025, this past spring, we saw the largest number of non-resident participation that we've seen probably in the last 5 to 7 years. And so with us butting up against the cap of just not having enough field space or parks to allocate, we have been talking about putting caps on registration for as just a discussion item for quite some time. So with the largest number this year in non-resident participation, we kind of redefined the parameters, which Jennifer alluded to a little bit in our presentation, kind of narrowed them down, tightened them up a little bit. So still, for example, military family will qualify for residents, as will obviously any family who has a parent living in Vacaville, automatic resident, and then anybody who's participating in a Challenger League will also qualify for a resident. And then there will be an allowance of non-residents, but they will have to pay a non-resident fee. And the leagues will be allowed up to 15% of their total registration can be non-residents. So you know, that will be kind of a moving target based on what their registration numbers are.
Okay. Just seems, I would think that could be a real burden on some of these user groups because our limited space is telling them exactly how to go about the membership of their group.
Yes, however, remember that the contracts do really only specify that it's for Vacaville residents only.
Yeah.
So, and we want to make sure that our fields and our parks and our spaces are also available for Vacaville residents who just organically want to go out and use the parks as well.
Okay. Right. Any other questions for Commissioner Gollinger? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports of the park manager. Good evening, Wallace.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Give me 1 second here. I just have a couple of items to share with you this evening. Not as many as what we had last week. Not nearly as exciting either. So first item on my update here is that we are installing a new memorial bench along the path at Stonegate Park, along the east side of the park. It will be, if you look on your monitor, there's a little orange dot that shows where it's at, and the picture to the left is what it will be looking out at towards there. And Next is the replacement of the fitness course at Pheasant Country Park. This equipment was originally installed when the park was built. And over time, it's experienced significant wear and tear, with some of the components just missing entirely. We've now replaced all the fitness stations with brand new equipment and anticipate that it will serve the community well for many years to come. With this final installation of fitness equipment, all the fitness courses across the city and all the parks have now been updated over the past, I think it's been 4 years that we've undertaken this endeavor. That concludes what I have for this evening. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Wallace. Any questions? I have a comment. I'm sorry. Commissioner Kelsey.
Thank you for the very brief report. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it? All right. All right, so moving on to reports of the park planner. Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening. I'm back.
Yes, you are.
This update is not technical and it's very quick. We've got just a couple of updates. Corderos Park is complete. The basketball court has been opened. I believe that some of the additional picnic facilities are still fenced off, but it's slowly coming down. And additionally, the basketball court at Nash Meadow Park is also complete and open to the public. That's all I got. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Nemo. Oh,
Thanks.
no,
I'm sorry.
not quite. Commissioner Gollinger.
Sorry. I'm noticing on both those pictures of Cordero and Nash Mesto, there's going to be a shade issue on those picnic tables, correct?
Yeah, so typically we do like to accommodate some picnic facilities that are shaded, so with an architectural element like a shade structure. But most of them, in particular, these little satellite stations where we do like 1 or 2 tables along a pathway, normally the way that we try to shade them is with trees. But our city standard is a 15-gallon tree, which is fairly small, so it'll take about a decade for this. You can see that some of the trees are fairly close to the picnic table, but it'll take a solid decade for them to sort of mature and provide some decent shade.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nemo. Moving on to reports of the recreation manager.
So we have a trainee tonight, so
Right.
we're going to get her set up. So I have more than 2 slides in my presentation. I'll let you know that. So thanks for bearing with us as we get set up. And I think Melody reported out at our last commission meeting that we had wrapped up summer and we were starting fall. So we're still kind of kicking off all of the fall programs. So some of the things that I've included in my presentation tonight are a little bit different and a little bit more kind of behind the scenes stuff. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. So one of the projects that we have mentioned that's been in the works for quite some time is a renovation of the Georgie Duke Sports Center's front counter. On the left, you can see what it looked like before, and on the right, you can see what it looked like after. So really just kind of a more modern, sleek update in terms of keeping it just looking lovely. Can you go to the next slide? And then, so the big difference is behind the counter where staff actually sit and work. So on the left, you can see that we really had kind of this bulky countertop and a lot of just kind of jumbled cabinets and drawers that were open. On the right, you can see that we've added a now ADA accessible desk, and it's actually at a reasonable work height for staff, so they no longer have to sit in kind of a high bar stool type of chair to reach the counter. We have locking drawers and ample storage, so staff are just really excited to have this change. So this, again, is phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 is installing bulletproof glass at this facility, and that will just keep the facility consistent with all of our other public buildings, where we have forward-facing staff. And so we're pretty excited to get this done. So hopefully we'll have the bulletproof glass installed by the end of the calendar year. So next slide, please. So as part of our regular fleet van replacement program, we recently got a new 12-passenger van. It replaced our old 15-passenger van, which I honestly can't even tell you how long the department had it, because it was here when I started in 2015. So it's been well over 10 years. So she lived a really good life, but she's now retired. And so now we have a new 12-passenger van. This one is, we had it kind of customized with an additional step, which will be really lovely and easy to use for our seniors when they go on their day trips. It'll make it a lot easier for them to get into the van. The seats are actually much easier to fold, or they're not super cumbersome to operate, which will be really helpful. And then we now have a fancy digital display that can help our drivers with navigation. So we're just really excited to have this new vehicle in our fleet. Everyone who drives is getting an orientation on how to use the vehicle to make sure that they're comfortable. And we anticipate that it's going to be used often for our senior day trips, as well as our after school and summer camp field trips. Next slide. So the adaptive recreation staff are putting out a community-wide survey to check in and get a pulse on how we're doing. And so we had an open house several years ago to meet the community where they're at and get an idea of what they wanted to see us put out into the community in terms of adaptive recreation programs. This was one of the slowest programs to build back up after COVID. So we really wanted to kind of get a pulse on what people were needing, what people were desiring. And since we've now had a couple years to be able to build that back, we just want to put out some questions and see where they're at. So we're doing community-wide distribution via e-blast with all of our existing participants. And then we're also going to put it on social media to hopefully reach people that we don't currently have in our database. The survey will be for both youth and adults. And our goals are to check in and see how we're doing, identify barriers for access, and obviously gather ideas for future programs, because we're always looking to do more. Next slide. And then, so one of the goals that actually came out of our open house several years ago for adaptive recreation, we heard from our participations that they really wanted us to become a vendor with North Bay, so that they as clients could utilize our programs and North Bay would pay for it. So it's kind of a third billing type of situation for us. And I'm very happy to report that we are crossing the finish line on this. We've been working on it since the request came in several years ago. It has taken that long to get through all the paperwork. But their clients, so basically North Bay clients will sign up and register through us, and then we will build North Bay behind the scenes. So initially we were only planning to do it for adaptive recreation participants, but North Bay, time during the process, asked us if we would be willing to open up some of our kind of more mainstream programs, like our after school and maybe some of our special interest classes. So we have put together kind of a little smattering of choices so that we have kind of a controlled experiment to start with. We don't want to go, kind of hog wild with all of the programs until we get a handle on how all of it's going to work behind the scenes. But we are also going to put together a special registration tab for North Bay clients in our registration system. So when they go on to Civic Rec, it'll be so easy for them to see what is available, what are the offerings, and they won't have to kind of wade through a lot of the technical stuff and what's, not available to them. So we're pretty excited to get it started. It should be in process by the end of this month. And we're hoping that it will expand our customer base and allow us to reach people who maybe haven't participated in our programs before. Next slide. So then continuing on the topic of ADA, we recently had 2 city-owned facilities become accessibility verified through a company called Wheel the World, which is a resource for travelers with mobility challenges. So the Wheel the World staff came out and did walkthroughs at both Pena Adobe and VPAT and to kind of get the lay of the land, see how accessible they were. Are they viable options to put on their website as desired locations for travel? And I'm really happy to say that we kind of passed. So this is almost done. We just have to finish setting up our profile on the website, and then anyone who uses Wheel the World can go on. If they're planning a trip to this area, they can look and see what locations are essentially considered accessible and mobility challenge friendly. So this was made possible through Visit Vacaville, who made the recommendation and put us in contact with Wheel the World. So we do have Kaya to thank for setting us up with this. But we're really excited because it's just another way to highlight the inclusivity and accessibility of what Vacaville has to offer. And I think that's my last slide. Next slide. Yep, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Any questions for Elizabeth? Vice Chair Gutierrez.
Not a question, but a suggestion. And I don't know if this is something that you're going to do year round, but the survey for the adaptive recreation, I think it would be like a really good opportunity to partner with Vacaville People's Forum during the BU event, because there's about 15 to 20 different nonprofits that service that community. I think there are a little over 200 families that attended last year at Andrews Park. So you'll have like a nonstop or, one-stop audience right there to really capture and talk to about what their needs are, what they're looking for. If we're currently meeting their needs, it's usually held April, May-ish every year, but just a suggestion.
Absolutely, and we have actually participated the last 2 years, which has been a really lovely opportunity for us. It's kind of a challenge because it falls always around VacaCon, so we're running on fumes by the time we get to BU, but it's such a great event where it's wonderful to connect with, kind of our target audience. So I love that, making sure that we have a survey of some kind to hand out as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions for Elizabeth? Hearing none, thank you, Elizabeth. We'll move on to the reports of the director, Director Mulder.
All right, good evening once again, Commissioners. So I just have a few updates this evening. The first being an update on the mural, the Phoenix Rising. So if you recall, several months ago, it might have been even back to February, this came to the commission and we had some discussion about this mural moving forward. And I'd like to report now that it is completed and it is painted over at Andrews Park next to the Art Gallery Annex. And it's kind of adjacent to the Vacaville Art League in Andrews Park. So when you're driving north on Monte Vista, you'll be able to see it. So I just encourage you to go to Andrews Park, take a walk around, and check out the new mural. It's really nicely done. So congratulations to the artists for completing that one. Then I also have an update on our Davis Street Recreation Center. Most of you probably know that we've been in a long-term lease and for this facility, and we've been making our lease payments regularly for years. Well, that lease is coming up due here in September. And so at the end of, as part of that lease agreement, the city had an option to acquire the facility. So the city is actually moving forward with acquiring the Davis Street. So we will soon be the owners of that site instead of having to continually lease it. So that's exciting. So that will be going on September 11th to the county successor agency is one of the last steps. And then once that is approved, we expect that it will be, then there will still be several steps we have to go through as far as like the real estate transaction and dividing up the parcel and going through kind of like a condo agreement with the other two pods that will stay privately owned. But the city will then own the recreation pod, which will be exciting moving forward that we have some stability with that particular center. So that's moving forward. Another update is I just wanted to let you know through the community development department, there are different development projects that are moving through the process. So I just wanted to provide, kind of put a couple of them on the commission's radar. And there's no community meetings or public meetings that are set right now. But as meetings come up, we want to make sure that we provide the information to the commission so you can stay informed. So one of these is the East of Leisure Town project. That is a large development project that has both neighborhood and community park components, which will take years to develop. But it's, as we're talking tonight about the impact fees and the importance of future development and growth, it's an important one that we pay attention to and we keep you informed. Another one is the Farms development. So this is a residential development adjacent to Play for All, and it also has a future community park component as part of that residential development, as well as a potential community park there where land has been set aside. So we will just keep the commission informed as if there are any public meetings that take place to make sure you're aware of those moving forward. And then the last thing is on the agenda, it talks about a facility tour date. So I mentioned this last time, Tracy's been communicating with the commission to try to find a date that works for most of the commission. I don't think we could find one that worked for everybody, but this is one that we landed on. So September 27th, we would like to do a facility tour with the commission. So please put that on your calendar and reserve the time, 8 to noon. Staff is working on finalizing kind of the plans for that tour. We'll be able to take our new passenger van as well, so something to look forward to. And as soon as we have that in place, then we will get that information out to the commission as far as the itinerary for the tour.
Great.
And that is my update.
Any questions for the director? Just want to say thank you for giving us those heads up on those development projects. I always think that's really helpful. The best that you can, just blast out an email. It's hard to keep on tabs with all of those projects. So appreciate it. And I just also wanted to say I'm looking forward to the facility tour. The last one was really wonderful, and I particularly really enjoyed talking with the park planners and getting a really outside their presentations, being able to be one-on-one dialogue about some of the challenges that they have in planning parks and some of their thought process and some of their solutions. So that was really wonderful. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, with that, we'll move to reports of the commissioners. Commissioner Gollinger, would you start us off tonight?
I really have nothing. I think I've All right.
Commissioner Kelsey.
Yeah. I'm on?
You're on.
So attended the, was it the Throwdown, car show?
Shakedown.
Shakedown, that's right, the Shakedown car show over the weekend, which is a really, really exciting thing every year. Thousands of people show up, amazing food vendors, amazing cars, really great family atmosphere. We enjoyed it considerably. There's a really local, amazing heavy metal band that played, which is just great. It was lively, entertaining. Looking forward to seeing it again next year. And yeah, that's about it.
Commissioner Frazier.
I want to acknowledge everyone's hard work and just all the thought and the process going into the development, the DIFs, and so the importance of that. So I know that's going to be really one of the big decisions coming up. So anyway, thanks for all your work on that and providing us all the information. So thanks, Nima.
And not to be forgotten, Vice Chair Gutierrez.
Yeah, appreciate everyone's hard work. I feel like we're at this weird turning point in Vacaville where we can really make some decisions with the knowledge of what's coming ahead of us, where it feels like we didn't really have that foresight 20 years ago, or if we did, I don't know if we anticipated the amount of growth, and we have the information in front of us now, and it's nice to see everyone get involved. It's almost overwhelming, the last couple of city council meetings, just talking about the direction of our downtown and now looking at our children and, you know, what's available for them. And it's a lot. So I plan on getting involved. I hope everyone out there plans on getting involved as well. I think we all can make a voice and a difference in our communities now, and our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren are depending on us to be vocal about what we need in Vacaville today. I also had an opportunity recently to sit down and have lunch with our new city manager, Savita. I'm going to butcher her last name, so I apologize. Chowdhury? Yeah. Yes. And that was nice. I'm excited about the new visions for Vacaville and the opportunities that we have under her leadership as well. And yeah, looking forward to our tour. The last time we actually had some community members get involved, like they got excited about seeing us out there and we're asking questions. So hopefully there'll be people out there as well. It was really, really nice to kind of get involved and hear what they wanted and hear them like at the parks and point out some things that a lot of, I think, city staff were taking notes and making future appointments. So that was exciting. So look forward to that as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And I too want to just thank and compliment staff for just a great summer. I know that's a lot of extra work that goes in, but I think it was what a great summer. So thank you for all your effort. And I want to sort of tag on Vice Chair Gutierrez's comments about just the city council is really wrestling with a lot of big issues. So they're not a council that's on autopilot. Let's just go through the motions. I mean, they are tackling head on a lot of the issues of the city. And so I'm really encouraged by that. And I also had an opportunity to have a sit down with our new city manager and really enjoyed that. And one of my very, very quick takeaways was that she's very passionate about Parks and Recreation. So I really liked that as well. I think she's going to be a great leader for the city. So I'm looking forward to her leadership. So I think that's all I have. So we'll leave it there, and with no further business, we'll adjourn to our next meeting scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night, Vacaville. Great.